I'm David Lutz. I'm a professor of psychology at Missouri State University. I've been here it's my 26th year, I think. I teach courses in ethical and professional issues, clinical psych, those kinds of things. In addition to the work that I do at Missouri State, I also have a private practice where I do a lot of assessment work, evaluations, see people in psychotherapy.
Fear, as with any other emotion or feeling, has different components. So it has a behavioral component, which means that people pull away, fight or flight. So they either pull away or they attack something. They've got a cognitive component where you perceive something as uncomfortable, something that you have to deal with, something that you don't know what to do with. And then you've got
Why we have fear goes back to evolutionary perspective. We needed it. If you don't have it, you're not here anymore. You're gone. Because you didn't know how to get away from things. So we have that fear. It's very much a self-protective strategy. Now, is it good or bad? That depends, first of all, on level. Does it get to be too much? So if it's too much, that's where people get immobilized, where they do things radically wrong, do things that cause them all sorts of problems. That's an issue. So intensity is one thing, but the other side is that some people, fear is a real motivating factor. It gets them to do things. For others, they just shut down. Life and danger in situations are a different story, because that's where it's a very protective kind of
fear still plays an important role, because if you can appraise things accurately, so if you can recognize when you need to be fearful, so you're out driving, somebody's texting in front of you while they're driving, that's a good situation to be afraid, okay? Because they're dangerous at that point, okay? Somebody's on the phone, they're paying attention to their keypad, they're dangerous. You ought to be afraid at that point, and so it becomes protective still. But for most of us, certainly in this society, we don't have to be afraid all the time, not nearly as much as you used to. We go back 10,000, 20,000 years ago, different story. Now, it's still there, and we tend to get anxious with a lot of situations that it doesn't service.
Common type of anxiety that people have, or general fears in that way, are social situations, public speaking, things like that. People, when they worry about being evaluated in some way, some negative evaluation. So that becomes a very common one. You get your phobias, things like fear of flying, animals, other things like that, where there's some point to that. There's when you're up 30,000 feet, historically that wasn't a terribly good thing. In the last 100 years, it's changed. So that's different. Fear of animals, same way. Historically, there was a point to it, but other times people will get anxious when the film industry is all about, is that people enjoy putting themselves in situations like that, and it becomes an escapist type of thing, and so they can really have fun with that. But they've chosen to put themselves in those situations. They can always leave. So some people really like that. They like that rush. They like that in different ways. And we know that from birth. You see some toddlers who like a lot of stimulation, and they like a lot of energy. Those children, so they seek a lot of social stimulation. Those kids later on are extroverted because they like that. What do you see in other kids? They kind of pull away, and they like more playing by themselves in the corner, and they like controlling that stimulation. When you see those differences very early, that's not due to a whole lot of outside environment learning types of thing. There's an innate tendency to want more or less stimulation. And so same thing with horror movies, things like that. Some people really like it.